Oh, new music.
Search together. IPSA. We're not just a name in a directory. Local minds with national synergy.
Welcome to the all-new IPSA Kind of Magic podcast. Well, the music's new at anyway. With, of course, my rhythm pal, Hamish McClay of Search and Convey, and myself, Gareth Wax. And we're talking really about things that really affect IPSA members and searching in general as far as conveyancing is concerned. Today's topic is local authority search fees, a postcode lottery. What do you mean by that, Hamish?
Well, it has been the case, and I think a lot of people are familiar because we speak about it often enough. The great advantage that anybody using IPSA members for searches is the fact that local people carry out the searches, and that has always been a great advantage. And that is actually because when you consider there were 370 councils, there's currently sorry about the voice. There's currently 318. I think if you consider the Scilly Isles as being a council area, it is, but it's a strange one. I wouldn't say it was silly, but it is strange. I would love to actually be carrying out searches there, getting the old rowing boat and row over and do the searches. But there's now 320, best part of 320 councils, but they work on different ways. But each of the individuals that are actually sort of members of IPSA, they know the council, and therefore they can work on that particular basis. So there were different ways that operations worked. Now, perhaps what we ought to mention, let's go back a little bit in history. History is important, but people might turn and say, "Oh, but we're speaking about now. What's happening now?" Well, what is happening now is a consequence of what happened historically. When you go back to the early days, when I say early days, when local authority searches started being carried out by local authority search by search agents, as opposed to relying purely on the council, it was because of two things. First of all, the extended length of time, it just took forever to get information from some of the councils. And also, once things started going, after 1990, round about 1990, everything changed. It didn't matter where you went in the country, every council, because the prices were regulated, you paid £30 for that search to the local council. Now, if you were paying that now and they were getting stuff back to you quickly, would you need search agents? Well, no. What actually happened, the prices were deregulated. Once they were deregulated, it was up to the councils to be able to charge what the heck they liked. And some of them took great advantage. And as we've spoken about the disparity in cost, we had Croydon, and Croydon is still up in the 300s to get your local authority search out of them. But you go in the other extreme, and I'm sure there's some that are lower, but Corby, the last time I looked, I haven't looked in a while, but it was around about £70. So you can actually see the differentiation. So what we've got now with the postcode lottery is this ridiculous variation in prices.
Yeah, I did some research while you were talking, and the variations between 80 in one area and £300 in another area.
Yeah, well, it was a bit of a cash cow. It just happened every April. What the council would do is say, "Oh, we're getting a bit short of money. What we'll do, we'll increase the local authority, we'll increase the search. We'll want a 10 on it, or 20 on it, or 25 or whatever." But they didn't give it to the land charges department. A bit like car tax. If the car tax was actually used and that tax was applied to maintaining the roads, we wouldn't have potholes. Well, but it's not used. It's another cash cow. So the government actually take it and use it because it gets so much money. There's a few absurdities there, but we're speaking about the variation in local authority search prices, so we won't go down that route. We'll speak about that on another occasion.
Is this just bureaucracy doing its thing, or is there something more questionable going on?
Well, not so much more questionable, but councils want money.
Yeah, but there seems to be a wide variation. It's not like it's £5 or £10 differential. We're talking about from 80 to 300.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's absurd. I mean, to make matters worse, we had a search come in and somebody said to me, well, Hamish, shame we haven't got Val here today, who was meant to be joining us.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know quite why they got some work going to cut her electricity, which hasn't exactly helped the situation.
Yeah.
Because she does actually cover this area. And what happened, somebody approached me and said, Hamish, what can you do? We've got a property in St Helens, it's going to auction. Can you get anything soon? And I said, well, I don't know St Helens. I'll get in touch with Val. So Val Bennett, so I spoke to Val and she said, well, no, there's still not about 9 weeks, 10 weeks at the moment.
Good Lord.
And I said to her, Val, can we get them any quicker? She said, well, they do actually do a swift turnaround and they can do that within 10 days, but it'll cost you an additional, hang on, £400.
What?
And that's on top of the £200 plus that they charge for their search anyway.
Well, so hang on. So how much is this actually affecting transactions? Are deals falling through because of delays or costs?
Oh, they do. They do fall through, yes. Mainly because of the time difference. It's not so much the cost. Now, one of the significant advantages of working with the organisation like IPSA, our Association of Independent, remember, they're all independent personal search agents. These searches, they're all regulated. They have to be regulated, all of this, but they are consistent throughout the country with one or two exceptions. Every now and again, there might be an initial price, but depending on whether you're buying a package, depending on whether you're buying individual searches, they are pretty darn consistent. I mean, there's a couple of councils, and I wanted to bring that in as well, because what happened, it was because of members of IPSA sticking their necks out, going up to Parliament, going up to the House of Lords, and finding out. Now, this is an interesting thing. When councils decided to start getting awkward, because they realised, because of their incompetence earlier, in the length of time it was taking to turn around searches and the variation in prices, that there were a lot more personal search agents getting on. We didn't have regulated searches in those days. I mean, that came in later. In fact, they're celebrating 20 years this year, funnily enough. The PCC, Property Codes Compliance Board, they've been going for 20 years now. So prior to their actually sort of being there, there wasn't such a thing as a regulated search, which, I mean, it's a good thing that they're now regulated. However, councils starting to think into themselves, this is about the turn of the century. Well, hang on, if these guys are going to start coming in, we're going to start charging them money for coming in to do personal searches. Now, prior to that time, all of that information, because it should have been in the public domain, it's already been paid for. Somebody's paid for planning permission. Somebody's paid for building control to actually go in and check these things out. So all of that information should be readily available. Now, in fairness, what we do have to be careful about here, and maybe it's one of our podcasts, we can speak about this, but as far as building control is concerned, that is a little bit different, because the trouble is with building control records, it can contain personal information about the person who's put in the application. So it is the name of a person, various other aspects which actually come into it. So because of that, under GDPR, there can be challenges with it. So it can be awkward. However, what you were told, and we know this, if a charge is going to have to be made, I'm jumping the gun a little bit here, but I'll go back to where I was speaking. If a charge has to be made, it's really to recover costs.
Right.
Now, when you think about it, all of this information is digitized now. So when you ask somebody for building control information, if that information is digitized, how much would you expect to pay for it if people wanted to recover costs?
It's a hard one to ask. I was going to ask on that. If councils argue that their costs should be different, is it actually fair to try and expect standardized pricing? Sorry.
Well, now what actually happened? So we'll go back to the story I was telling. It was because of two members of IPSA at the time. They actually stuck their necks out and they spent an awful lot of time, an awful lot of energy, and
Right.
one of them in particular invested money in doing it, because what happened in the UK was getting no response whatsoever. This information that should have been in the public domain, we were expected to pay for it if we actually wanted to view it. And it basically, if you like, that wasn't right. There was something wrong with it. Now, at the same time, in Europe, they had started off with the same challenges because they felt again throughout Europe that this information should be readily available.
Right.
And what actually happened, one of the members of IPSA at the time, which is one of our previous chairmen, he actually went over into Europe and he spoke to each of the individual countries to speak to them about what should be in the public domain or not. And he concluded, or they had concluded, that it should be in the public domain. So the whole of Europe agreed it should be in the public domain. Our government still would not suggest that it was, but they were outvoted. So it was an edict of the EU that created this availability as should be free to view, apart from the cost recovery. It was put down there under the Environment Information Regulation because it was.
Which body should be responsible for fixing this? Should it be government? Which body should be responsible for fixing this imbalance? Should it be central government, councils, or
well, we're back to the same people. The MHCLG, is it? I can't remember. We mentioned them before, but yes. I mean they're too busy fighting too many wars. Funnily enough, internally with all the councils, the problem they've got with councils at the moment, it's the last thing they're worried about. So what had happened? So all of this became freely available, even the availability, just about anything. Now, what has happened, unfortunately, now, because we don't have the time to do it, and we no longer have these two great members who actually sort of put all of this together.
Right.
What they did on behalf of IPSA made it available to the search industry throughout the country. So every single person now that's accessing this information has these two people to thank for it.
Right.
But of course, once it was done by, if you like, the chairman of IPSA and one of the directors at the time, it was readily available to everybody. So all the charges were actually dropped and the individual sort of costs were dropped. And under EIR, it should be cost recovery. Now, in fairness, if it's, for example, if the council has that information themselves, it should be readily available, and under EIR, it's cost recovery. So what we've got at the moment, if people remember, and it's almost very complicated, because we've got part of that local search, and we spoke about that, I think it was last week or the week before.
Yeah.
A local search is split into two parts, effectively. There's the LLC one, which is the land part charges section. That's the bit, maybe we'll spend one of our podcasts just explaining about what land charges exactly are.
I think we talk about them so often, it'd be worthwhile.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, do you think that ongoing digitization or AI might realistically help or fix this?
It might help in a way, but as we mentioned before, what councils are doing, they are preventing access to information that should be in the public domain. They're actually restricting access. So AI wouldn't be able to help in that respect. So, I mean, we've got a couple of councils, both of which they charge about the same price. It's £35 for cost recovery. One of them maintains that it's based on the fact that their cost recovery is at £80 per hour. I don't know what quality of training one needs to be able to sort of charge £80 an hour to actually read information that's actually sort of on the screen. I mean, in many respects, I mean, some people don't even charge that much money for a local search.
All right.
£80.
We're getting close to the end, so I'm just going to hit you with this. Bottom line, is this a broken system or just an inconvenient one?
It's an inconvenient one. We don't have time to eradicate these particular rogue councils who want to charge additional money. And what we've got is the mixture at the moment. We've got some people have gone to land registry. In fact, St. Helens, that one I was speaking about, are an absolute pain in the neck. They are actually going under the land charges, at least, are going to be available because they're going to switch to land registry through, for their particular searches. But it's a pain in the neck. We can't eradicate it, but we can try and work on it. And we do within our membership, or in fact, the directors. It's Heather, as we well know. Heather Poole-Gleed, our chief executive, she's got a record of what's actually sort of going on with different councils. She will appeal on behalf of members if they get in touch with her. Right. And also, one of the members of COPSO, which we haven't spoken about previously over much, but one of the members of COPSO is also speaking to local councils, and we do speak with each other. So we're trying to share that information. So we're trying to get that balance out. So we're trying to get that level playing field. Each council demands of each council are the same. They don't vary. We want exactly the same, those questions answered. It's as simple as that. And unfortunately, it's not happening because of the variation in councils, variation in lead times, but it is a postcode lottery.
Well, I was going to say we learned something new, but I kind of knew this anyway. It just, it seems to me that at some point this needs to become achieve parity, but we're not there yet. Thank you so much, Hamish. You've given me food for thought. If anybody else watching this, just realize that depending on where you live, the searches could be quite different in price, and it's not the search industry charging, it's the fact that the land charges can be completely charging different amounts depending on whether the council see it as a cash cow or not. But I guess this is where we live right now. Thank you once again, Hamish, and to all of you watching, please keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars. Don't forget, we've got at least we got Thursday, one day bank holiday, and I'm completely thrown. We've got property quorum tomorrow, and we've got cladding matters on Friday. There was no cladding matters last Friday. This Friday, I'm looking forward to getting back into the fray. And to all of you watching, please look after your mental health. Take care, man. Bye-bye now.
Local skill, national connection. Independent, but never alone. IPSA, where your professional home.